Wheel of Time is set in a matriarchal world, wonderful, and obviously it's got that kind of feminist aspect to it. Is that something that appealed to both of you?
Yeah, I think what's wonderful about the show is that it simultaneously comments on the fact that we need women, but also that we need men. There's this balance and duality, and this recognition that we need each other to survive. And I think what was also wonderful with the portrayal of many of these characters is that there's a lot of women that are many things. They're strong, and they're also brave and scared at times, and there's just like really fleshed out characters, and I think yeah, it's been a blessing to be a part of it for many reasons.
So were you both familiar with the source material, or did that come afterwards?
So I heard about the series when I got my audition. And then I did a bit of research online and saw how many copies were sold worldwide, and I was like, what have I been doing with my life? What rock have I been under? But I just remember when I got the audition, I was like, whether I am a part of this or I'm not, this will be a brilliant series, and I'll be fascinated to see what they do with it. So I was introduced to the Wheel of Time when I got my audition. Yes.
Same with me.
So let's talk about, aside from that research, the physical side of the roles, because they are physical. Did you have to do physical training, or were you like pumped to go?
Yeah, so when we first arrived to Prague in August 2019, many moons ago, we had 6 months of boot camp with the stunt team, and they really put us through our paces. We were like walking differently after each day.
You were walking?
Yeah. But we also, not only that, we had horse riding as well, and dialect coaching as well. So our whole kind of beings were being kind of changed and manipulated, but in a good way, for us to be ready to take on these roles.
And was there anything in particular that you learnt that you'll be keeping hold of?
Horse riding has just been like, I was fully one of those people that was thinking, I'll never know how to go down a horse, I'll never know how to ride one, and that's just something that I'll live with. But then, we have an amazing horse team here, and wonderful horses that make our lives so much easier.
That's true.
So that's something that I've really fallen in love with and try and do when I go back home to Australia. So that's something that I'd like to keep up.
And how much fun was it to work with Rosamund Pike?
I mean, it's amazing. It's like a masterclass, every day. She's an absolute powerhouse, and is so dedicated to her work. And it's just, you can't teach this stuff, you just learn it and experience it, and by watching other people, you in turn become better and build on your craft. But she's wonderful. She's a ball of fun. Yeah, she's brilliant.
I mean, it did look like a lot of fun to shoot, especially like fighting with the Trollocs and things like that. So how does that kind of work? Because it's physical, but then with FX on top. So yeah, was that kind of terrifying but fun?
I would say it was more fun than anything.
Yes.
Yeah, for the most part, which has been really helpful for us actors is we've often had a lot of practical effects. So on the day we are actually fighting a man in a Trolloc suit.
Yeah.
So that helps. I mean, we're actually bashing against something and stabbing something. So that's definitely I think a wonderful highlight to the show. And obviously there's a mix of both practical and visual effects, but I think that's what makes them quite special, is that they really merge well together.
Yeah. And I think, there are times where I was definitely more terrified for them, because you're like, that is a man who has never worn heels before, and he is in these big platforms.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think I was terrified for them, being like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But,
are you okay?
Are you okay?
As you stab them a few times.
Yeah. Helping them up, then stabbing them. Yes.
Funny. Can you each tell me about like what it is about your characters that you particularly love, and if obviously when you were doing your research, what like kind of appealed to you about them?
I just love how determined Egwene is, and how she is just unbreakable. You know, she has so much strength and determination and wants to do the right thing for her friends and the world. And I just think that is such an admirable quality. There was quite a few qualities I just listed, but you know, I aspire to be like her, and she's just so self-assured, and yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, what I really love particularly about Nynaeve is her love of her people, and how dedicated she is to making sure they're okay, and the fact that she's a healer, I think, is it's so selfless, you know. We need more of that in the world, and I think it's the way she's so willing to do whatever it takes to make sure the people that she loves are okay, and she's more than fine with putting their needs above hers, I think is as Maddie says about Egwene, just incredibly admirable.
So is fantasy and sci-fi kind of things that you grew up with and wanted to be a part of in particular, or is this kind of your recent work kind of is what brought you to it?
I mean, I've always loved fantasy. You know, I grew up on Lord of the Rings, was obsessed with Lord of the Rings, and I think it's so special. You know, I'm from Australia, but even though it was filmed in New Zealand, I think that is something that us trans-Tasman bubbled folk are very proud of. I can't take as much claim to that as Zoe does, but yeah, I love fantasy. I love that there's no boundaries, no limits. Yeah, anything's possible.
Yeah, agreed.
Excellent. Thanks for your time today. Take care.